Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however you're watching, wherever you're watching, however you listen, wherever you listen. It's the Bet Online Salute to Troy podcast, and we have a dynamic duo, the founders of the Bearded Bandits. We got our guy here today on a very busy news cycle for USC. Today's Wednesday. Our days are even off, but we're on here early because we have a very busy news cycle. Ryan Dyrud, how are you doing today?
What's up, my brother? Doing good. Missed you. I was gone on Monday and Tuesday out camping in Malibu. So nice little refresh, little mental refresh, and come back to some crazy SC news. So had to jump on here right away and get into it. But how are you doing? What got the USTA shirt rocking? Looking good.
Oh yeah, I did. This was a while ago when I was coaching. I was coaching the USA football team.
Hell yeah.
So, uh, big news. Big news. Bear Alexander, is he in? Is he out? Is he in? Is he out? We got an official tweet today that he is in. But if you guys go to LAFootballNetwork.com, we put a story up yesterday saying that he was in. We had a high source saying that it was in. So we'll discuss the Bear thing. But before we get into the Bear thing, here's my question to you, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
Good or bad that people starting to pick off our roster?
I mean, I think it's good. I mean, it's bad if they get plucked, right? But I think it shows the caliber of talent now that is on this roster. So yeah, I think you gotta see it as good. And obviously, if you're able to retain, that's even better. If you lose, it's not a good look. I don't know. There's so many underlying behind the scenes workings and all this stuff, but yeah, coach. I mean, I think it's a good thing if people want what you have, right?
Yeah.
They always try to bring you down, right?
So to me, and you're right. To me, it's a bittersweet thing, right? And I think it's one of those things that comes with taking a step forward of being a championship team, if that makes sense, right? So people want what you have. They're starting to look at your roster. Hey, we could give you this much money if you come here. Why would you stay at SC? And with Bear, it had to be money. He was already a starter. We already knew he could do. The best example, and I was thinking about it the other day, was when we had Kenny on, and Kenny was like, Bear's okay. And then you mentioned, it was actually you mentioned, like, look at the first half of the Cal game. The defensive line looked terrible compared to the second half with Bear in, and there's a big difference in the depth, right? So Bear is going to be a guy. Now you put him with Coach Henny. I mean, it's just it's one of those things that's everything that everybody thinks that the stuff that comes with the title is great, but there's so much bad that comes with the title also. More press, which if something negative happens, it gets ran through the news. Like, look at Georgia. They can't stay out of the news right now for negative. You know what I mean? Like, all these things happen. And with the NIL era happening, you're going to get your roster plucked. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be guys that's going to try to pluck your roster. And everybody's going to try to offer more money. Now, here's the deal. And I've said this before. If Lincoln doesn't win, there'll be a check presentation on the field just like it was in College Station. And everybody thinks it was a joke. And Jamal even was like, yeah, you're right about that. SC has the money. SC has the backing. I don't know what was done, and this is just all assumption, but I felt like this was a 911 case and they had to call their money guys to fix this. You know what I mean? And when you think about it, this hit the news cycle yesterday, right? They fixed it today. And in 24 hours, it was fixed, right? That's another sign of Lincoln Riley making improvements towards becoming a better coach than what he was last year. Do you disagree or agree?
No, 100% agree. 100% agree. And here's what I can say on it. And I can't say everything. But from sources that I've talked to, people I've talked to, Bear was transferring. It was happening. So the report that came out and the video that came out from our good friend USCJ, it was legit. As of yesterday morning, it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that he was leaving. Now, whether that was more so for leverage or not, you can make your own assumptions and conclusions. But based on what I've heard and talked, he was leaving. Then we hear last night from a good source that he's not going anywhere. We put our story out kind of just saying that, nothing guaranteed yet, but this is what we're hearing. And then this morning, based on what I heard, there was a meeting between, Coach Riley, Coach Henny, and Bear and his family, and they were able to iron out, stuff behind the scenes. And I can just tell you, it didn't have to do with coaches or playing or anything like that. So you can make your own assumption on what it dealt with. They ironed it out, and Bear tweets out an hour or so later that he's here, staying, and ready to win a championship with his brothers and teammates. So, to your question, I think this was a pivotal moment for Lincoln Riley in the sense that another one in this offseason, Coach, where last season, as bad as it ended, we talked about how he felt more motivated and whether we took that seriously or not. Well, then we saw it with the coaching hires. And you asked, hey, is it good that SC is getting plucked? Well, Lincoln Riley in the offseason plucked head coaches and coordinators to be position coaches. So that's what started it. Well, now it was the other side of things in player retention, which, we'll just talk about the bear in the room or the elephant in the room, NIL, and how committed and how involved is Coach Riley and the staff in NIL. And we've been talking a lot that he's all for it. And all of our sources on the NIL side have said he's been good to work with in that, but maybe hasn't been involved enough. Well, this was the time where he had to step in and basically say what needs to happen for you to stay here. And he and Coach Henny made that happen. I think Coach Henny, everything we've talked about, all the positives about him, this was just further proof of how important he is to the staff, to this program. And if Lincoln Riley's kind of the brains and the mind, Eric Henderson's the mouthpiece and the motivator. I mean, he is the representation, I think, of this program. That's nothing against Danton Land and all the other staff, but I think it's pretty clear that Coach Henny, how much he means to this program, and this one move in being able to retain Bear and not going anywhere, because we know how important he is to this defense. So, long answer to your question, Coach. But, I mean, it's just another, I don't want to say feather in the cap, but another step in Lincoln Riley's kind of improvement as a coach here at SC.
No, it's fine with the long answer. Bear is important to the program, right? And losing Bear would have been a major step back. But I want to address something, and I've addressed it in the past, and I can only address it from experience, right? So I will say it in this stance. My experience when I played was everybody had to get to the pro because there's family that they had to take care of. Now we're giving these kids 6-figure incomes, right? It took me until my 30s till I started making a 6-figure income.
I'm still not there, Coach. I'm not even there yet.
These dudes are making 6 figures as 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. What, Bear's 20, 21 years old? Mm-hmm. But the thing that you said was him and his family. His family should have never been an issue in this situation. That's not his family's money. That's Bear's money. You start to put burdens on these kids with this NIL that they can't bear. No pun intended, but
nice.
They start to put, why do you need more money? You're already making 6 figures. 6 figures as a college student is ridiculous. Why do you need more? Why are these kids? And I'm not just talking about Bear. I'm talking about all these kids. Why are these kids paying your bills as a parent? These kids are not, it's not the kid's responsibility to take care of you. It's your responsibility to take care of the kids. You know what I mean? And I promise this, I saw it in my life. If any of my kids make it, they get NIL, sure money. Just be careful with it, spend it wisely. I'll put you with the right tax people to make sure that you're taken care of, because you do have to pay tax on it.
Yep.
But that's your money. Just be smart with it. Like, that is going to be the biggest negative of NIL, is the fact that these kids are going to have to burden their parents.
Yeah.
I'll give you a good story real quick before you go. The offensive tackle that went to the Cowboys, what is his name? Went to USC.
Tyron Smith.
Tyron Smith's parents was waiting outside of the practice facility asking Tyron Smith for money. because they felt that Tyron Smith owed them money. Doesn't even associate with his parents anymore.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of that with college kids, and that's sad. Nobody thought about this. I'm all for NIL, but nobody thought about this when NIL happened, and that's why I'm a big fan of capping it at a limit for each class level, because it's a lot of money for 18-year-old. I don't care what you say. And they're getting 1099. They're not getting W-4s. They're getting 1099. So they're getting all their money up front. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a big chunk of cash to have as an 18-year-old. What were you going to say? Go ahead.
No, it's a great point. And again, this is not even explicitly about Bears, just the subject of it as a whole. And it kind of reminds me of the, child actor syndrome, right?
Yes.
All these child actors that are, and obviously they're 18, 19, 20. It's a little different than 7, 8, 9, 10. But you have these child actors that made boatloads of money. Their parents were, quote unquote, managing them.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, those child actors had a pretty rough life. It didn't make well. Either their money was squandered away, either they disparaged from their families, either, we're not even going to get down to, all the other bad stuff that happened, but it usually didn't end up well when the talent is being managed by the family and the talent is younger than drinking age and supporting the family. It usually doesn't work out well. I mean, that's, as the parents are supposed to support the child. So this is nothing to do with Bears family or any of these new recruits, but just the overall issue is, it's a tough thing to navigate. And how do you go through that? And that, gets different from the point of this is, being good news that Bears back with SC, but it's an interesting point, Coach, because it's something that hasn't really had to be dealt with in sports. It's been dealt with in the movie, music, celebrity. I mean, obviously we know what happened with Britney Spears and Drew Barrymore and all these other, but we may start seeing that more with these young athletes. And, as you've said many times, and as we all know, a lot of schools have been doing this for a long time. So it's not like this is the first time a college student, a college athlete wasn't taking care of his family, but now the pressure is real because it's public, and now it's real pressure. Before it wasn't as much pressure because it was so private. Like, well, guys, you can't pressure me to get money when I can get expelled, or I can get,
I can be ineligible.
I can be ineligible because of this.
Yeah.
Now it's like a real thing because the family's saying, well, hey, this school can give you this much. Why would you not go here? Why would you not go here? Like, why are you staying here? I don't care if it's better for your future. We need this money now. We got a mortgage to pay. We got this and that. And so, yeah, man, it's a real issue that unfortunately it's going to fall on these coaches and these collectives. I don't think it should. It's not the coaches doing. It's not even the collectives doing. It's the overall, I guess, governing body, or just the lack of leadership when this thing first launched. And now we're going to start seeing this trickle down effect.
Right. And they just was like, here, NIL is good. Well, California started it, and then everybody started to follow suit, right? California released the law, like college players should get paid, and everybody started following suit. NCAA was just like, here, all right, you can have NIL. But they just said you could do it with no rules on it, and it's created the Wild West, right? And then you start to see coaches get out of the game. Nick Saban can't handle it and things like that. The third string running back from Maryland, which is like a big story talking about, I need $100,000.
Yeah.
Bro, you're not worth $100,000. You're not worth $100 on your best day. You can go get in the portal. Like, we're not any worse without you. We're not any better with you. Like, there's no difference in change. So it's going to become a money grab, and it has become a money grab. This is what we was worried about. And I think for us, it happened. I think for us, it's hitting close to home because it's happening to USC, right? Anywhere else, we're just like, see, that's what we're talking about. But this isn't the first time. But there's a positive to all this. Mm-hmm. You have a professional coach who's dealt with contracts before, and they understand you got to make your money. You got to do what you got to do. And I think this was one of those conversations. And I've been in conversations like this before, and it's just for scholarship money because I was at the D2 level, and it's not full scholarships. And so, like, do we give them more money or do we not give them more money? And sometimes you have to be like, yeah, coach, I think we're gonna have to do it. You know, and sometimes it's gonna be players who's gonna be like, nah. There's gonna be no's. You know what I mean? Like having Henderson on your staff though is like, I've dealt with this before with Aaron Donald. I've dealt with this before with such and such and such and such. This is a guy we got to pay him, coach. Let's pay him. Like we got a goal. Let's pay him. That's the benefit of having Eric Henderson. You know what I mean?
Like, which happened,
like,
I think.
Yeah,
I think that happened. Like he realized, like Bear is integral to our success this year.
Yes,
we got to have him. So let's just go fix it and make it happen.
And fixing it in 24 hours is probably the greatest thing ever, right? The good news is Bears staying. We're moving forward. We got us a chance to play really good football. I want to transfer into something. You've been at a couple of practices. I've seen a couple of clips. What is spring ball looking like? Give me a recap. I know you can't actually watch it, but what are the coaches saying? How's everything looking? I'm more interested about those freshman offensive linemen. So if you could start with the freshman offensive linemen, just give us a rundown of what's spring ball looking like for SC this spring season.
Yeah, I mean, really all I can talk on is the vibe, kind of the feeling, and then kind of what the coaches say afterwards, because they don't let us see it. But I think there's a lot of excitement about the freshman offensive lineman and the sophomore, the next class that was recruited last year. When you look at Aloni Noah and guys like that, Elijah Pays obviously, but Zemindala, who was recruited this year, is just looking like a beast. And the new weight class program with Benny Wiley has been tremendous for especially the trench guys, but all the players at SC and getting bigger. And coach, you talk all the time, you got to get bigger. And you see guys like Jai Babasari, when he was recruited, was like 285 and is like 315 or something right now. And they're moving him inside. Like it's insane what the gains these guys have seen in such a short time. So that's been good. So I think the offensive line, we'll see at spring game a little bit. But I think it'll be improved from last year. Jonah Monheim moving inside the center, obviously, as we all know, and then Elijah Page kind of being the true starting left tackle. And then we'll see what slots in after that with, Pregnon and whatnot. But yeah, I think that the vibe, the intensity seems different, coach. And I may have said this last year. So I try to, I live in the moment obviously all the time. And, I get, a little more happy and proactive or whatever. But I do feel like the intensity, that all we can see in the first 15 minutes of practice does feel more intense. It does feel like there's a lot more direction and goal oriented, if you will. And so, which is good, which is great. And I think the interviews after, we spoke with Coach Entz last week, the linebacker coach, who's just, Coach, you would love, I think, Coach Entz. He's a football coach, like just a middle America, Midwest football coach. So I feel like you would love him. But there just seems to be really excitement. But I feel like, okay, how can I say it this way? Last year at this time, there was excitement, but it was kind of just like, look what we did last year. We're going to build on that, and our expectations are this. This year, it feels like we're out to prove everybody wrong. It's like that chip on your shoulder kind of thing, which whether they should have or not, I think that's a good mentality to have. I mean, having a chip in your shoulder, whether you need to have it or not, and maybe fans get annoyed by it, it's a good mentality to have that you're out to prove everyone wrong. And it just feels like that. So aside from that, it was cool seeing, Travis Scott out there last week. So it feels like it's been 3 weeks of spring practice. We got a long way to go, but it's feeling kind of like the Pete days a little bit, at least when the celebrities are coming around and the hype around the team. Coach, the amount of recruits and visitors that were at that spring practice was way more than the 3 years I've covered the team. So that was kind of fun to see.
Yeah, and like I always say, the stock, if you're going to buy it now, right now it's the right time to buy the stock in USC, right? It's a bullish stock. It's a bearish stock, and it's going up. There's a lot of potential.
Great bear references, by the way. Nice job.
Yeah, it's bear is the topic of discussion.
Yeah.
No, but it's going up, and the thing about it is you'll get a peek of it, and it'll be very, very, very controlled. next weekend on the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still using the Louisville game. And a lot of people say, well, they didn't have this, they didn't have that. It doesn't matter. You got to think about this. Miller Moss had no reps all year. Anthony Beaver, very limited reps. Elijah Pay, very limited reps. It didn't the tackle from rep Noah, he played in the game too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very little reps. I'm looking at clips of Quentin Joyner. He is running the ball.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like the transfer thing isn't bothering him. Like, I remember a coach used to say, you have to build bark. You have to build bark. And this team is building bark. I think what UCLA did to him last year was like the biggest wake-up call, because UCLA was always known as being soft, and now everybody's starting to call SC soft. Like,
yeah,
they're building a bark, and they're getting the reputation back that they need to get back. And it's getting to a thing. Local recruiting, and I talk about it all the time, local recruiting is not a thing anymore. Kids are coming from the East Coast to want to play for USC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, their games are barely on the East Coast. Like, and they're coming from the East Coast to want to play for USC. That's a plus. And like the show you were just on, just listening, Lincoln Riley said this jet's going to take off. Like, and I used to always say this too. Like, once the cruise leaves, you're going to be on the dock just watching this go away. We're going to become a spec, right? And it's going to become a spec, and the jet's going to take off. He's going in all the right directions, Ryan. Like, it's crazy how he's going in the right directions. Can we be optimistic now? 100%. Will we be optimistic after LSU? I think so. And I think LSU is a great paper team, but they're replacing so much that it's like, it's going to be more shocking than people think. You know what I mean? And it's Labor Day weekend, and we need to set that up because it's Labor Day weekend. So nobody works on Monday, but that's all fair conversation. But SC is going in the right direction, trending in the right direction, doing all the right things. Lincoln Riley's doing the right things. I wish Jamal was here because it'd be a great conversation for Jamal, because, like, Lincoln Riley is doing all the right things compared to last year. It's like, oh, Lincoln, not again. Not again. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's going in all the right directions. You got anything else before we get up out of here, Ryan?
No, I mean, yeah, I think you said it. You know, I think when you look at, LSU, and we got a long time to prepare for that, but they only won
long time.
They only won 2 more games in SC last year, and they had the Heisman winner, right? And whatnot. And 2 games in college football is a lot more than maybe the NFL, but it's not like they were some national contender last year, and they lost all that, and just like SC did, and they're kind of they have a new defensive staff, and I don't think their defensive staff is nearly as at least on paper and pedigree and history as good as SC's is right now. So, there's a lot of good things. This losing Bear would have been a bad look for this program when it comes to kind of all that they've built and worked for and improving NIL, because NIL right now is a lot better than it was a year ago. But they were able to correct it, like you said, in 24 hours. And I think that's what speaks volumes to me, is the fact that this was happening, and the coaching staff, Lincoln Riley and Coach Henderson in particular, stepped in and said, we're not letting this happen. We're going to do what it takes to make sure this kid stays, because he's an integral part of this team. And that's, I think, what should be promising for SC fans, is you can see that the coach speak or whatever that Coach Riley and others maybe say, well, they're putting it into action. Right. And not just in the hires, not just in the recruiting, but now in the NIL form too. And so I think that is huge. So yeah, it's a good day for SC that is back, and yeah, I'll be at practice tomorrow, and I'm sure we'll get some good questions in on this whole situation.
You know what the LSU SC game reminds me of? SC Auburn 2004.
Yeah.
SC Auburn 2004. And we know what happened that year. Yeah. So a lot of good things could happen. So definitely. Ryan, I appreciate you. I got you out before you got the hook. You got a lot of podcasting in today, so you're the man. You are the celebrity. I thought it was Candace. It's definitely you, Ryan. Ryan is the celebrity. He's the man. He gets it done. I see why people get upset when we don't let you speak as much. But I mean, they don't know how introverted you really are. So
that's true. This is true.
Yes.
And the first part, not true. I am not the celebrity. You, my friend, are the celebrity. Great stuff as always. Always a pleasure.
Definitely, man. It's been fun. We appreciate you guys. You guys know how it goes. It's the Bet Online Salute Detroit podcast. We'll see you next time. Hey, Ryan, don't forget this. Live free, fight on.
Yes, sir.